And welcome to the ShadowBear Story Sessions, the podcast about brutally dark and insanely hilarious old folktales and fairy tales. Today's tale, one of the original versions of Grimm's fairy tales, a tale titled The Goose Girl. We begin. There once was an old queen whose husband had been dead for many years, and she had a beautiful daughter. When the daughter grew up, she was betrothed to a prince who lived far away. When the time came for her to be married and the princess had to get ready to depart to the distant kingdom, the old queen packed up a great many precious items and ornaments. Gold and silver, goblets and jewels, in short, everything that suited a royal dowry, for she loved her child with all her heart. There's nothing really out of the ordinary so far. It's a very straight down the line premise for a folktale, for a fairy tale. We got a mother-daughter situation with a queen and a princess, and the queen has made an alliance with some kingdom far away to marry her daughter off, and sounds like she's got a whole lot of gold and silver to make that alliance last. So yeah, nothing interesting so far. We continue. She also gave her a chambermaid who was to accompany her and deliver her safely into the hands of her bridegroom. All right, now this could potentially be a source of some drama here. The lady who's got to deliver her. Each received a horse for the journey, but the princess's horse was named Falada and could speak. Here we go. Talking horse, guys. They set it up real bland and real straight down the line, and now we have a talking horse named Falada. Let's get into it. When the hour of departure arrived, the old mother went into her bedroom, took a small knife, and cut her finger to make it bleed. All right, we're going way off the rails now, guys. Then she placed a white handkerchief underneath her finger, let 3 drops of blood fall on it, and gave it to her daughter. All right. Some people, give a lock of hair or something. I guess this mom is like, I will bleed for you are my blood. It's pretty baller move, old queen. We continue. Quote, "My dear child," she said, "take good care of these 3 drops, for they will help you on your journey when you're in need." All right, this queen has a backstory. There's something going on with this queen. She's got access to a talking horse and clearly has some understanding and ability to do some type of magic if there's power in 3 drops of her blood. So I want to know some backstory on this queen. Because all we know about her is that she had a husband who died. Who was her husband? How did he die? And I don't think her husband is the most interesting person in this marriage because she is capable of literal magic. We continue. After they had bid each other a sad farewell, the princess stuck the handkerchief into her bosom, mounted her horse, and began her journey to her bridegroom. It's just her and this one chambermaid. That feels like you're traveling pretty light, right? You've just got a princess and a chambermaid and like a ton of gold and silver and goblets and jewels. That's that's conspicuous. Like you're not going to be able to act like you're just, 2 wanderers who don't have a bunch of valuable stuff. That gold and silver and goblets and stuff and jewels, that's going to be clanging around in whatever bags they have. And yeah, and it's just the princess and a chambermaid. So hopefully they know karate or have old-timey weapons of some kind that they are very proficient in using, because they are sitting ducks right now for some highway bandits or something. So let's see how they get along on their journey. After riding an hour, she felt very thirsty and called to her chambermaid. Wouldn't they just be right next to each other? I got a call. Get down and fetch some water from the brook with my goblet that you brought along for me. I'd like to have something to drink. All right, I don't love that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't love the entitlement. Just a please would be nice, right, princess? Hey, if you're thirsty, said this chambermaid. I don't know why, but the chambermaid saying, hey, opening that sentence with a hey is hilarious to me. Hey, if you're thirsty, said the chambermaid, get down yourself. Good for you, chambermaid. Just lie down by the water and drink. I don't like being your servant. That's literally, that sounds like something that I just like a riff that I was just making up. That's literally in the story. That's what she said. The first time, this is a chambermaid. This is literally her job, her servant. And at the first opportunity where she is no longer at the castle, and the princess is like, hey, can I have, or not, she said it more mean. She's like, hey, get me something to drink, which, yeah, was a little rude. So maybe it kind of warrants this reaction. But I really respect and love this chambermaid for being like, if you're thirsty, get it yourself. Lie down by the water and drink straight from the water. I love that it ends with, I don't like being your servant. Not even like, here, take the goblet and do yourself. It's like, nah, get on your hands and knees and drink straight from the brook. Like that is, she's making a point right there. Like, I am not going to help you. We continue. Since the princess was very thirsty, she dismounted, bent over the brook, and drank some water. But she was not allowed to drink out of the golden goblet. She wasn't allowed. Who's in charge here? Maybe this chambermaid is not who she seems, or maybe the old queen has given her some type of authority or something. I don't know. So she was not allowed to drink out of the golden goblet. Oh God, she said. Then the 3 drops of blood responded. Ah, if your mother knew, her heart would break in 2. What? So now this blood can talk? Also, like, heart would break in 2? It's not, like, that big of a deal, right? She's still drinking water. It's not, come on. It's not that bad. We continue. But the princess was quite humble. She said, no, I take issue with that. You're not that humble if you're crying out, oh God, to the heavens at the fact that you can't use a golden goblet. That is not humility in my book. Ugh. She said nothing and got back on her horse. They continued riding a few miles further. The day was warm and the sun so sticky and hot that she soon got thirsty again. I like their use of calling the sun sticky, because I can feel what that means, right? Like when it's really sunny and hot and like humid out and you can just feel the heat sticking to you. I like that. Nice. When they came to a stream, she called to her chambermaid once more. Get down and bring me something to drink from my golden cup. For she had long since forgotten the servant's nasty words. How do you forget? That's not really something you just forget, right? One of your servants being like, I don't like being your servant. It's like, well, it's literally the only reason that you're here. So, like, you're staying around. If you really don't like being my servant, could just leave. Like, honestly, there's nothing preventing this chambermaid from just bolting on her own horse, right? Especially if she just, like, cuts loose some of the gold. You know, she's got, like, a bunch of the gold and silver on her horse. She just, like, cuts off half of it. She still would have way less, like, baggage on her horse than the princess would have on her horse, so she'd be able to outrun her and escape with some treasure. That's what I would do if I was in this chambermaid situation and didn't want to be a servant anymore. So yeah, you don't forget those kind of nasty words. Someone saying something like that. I don't think they're really nasty words. She's just like, I'm done with this servant nonsense. We continue. If you want to drink, the chambermaid said, even more haughtily than before. Oh my. Drink by yourself. I don't like being your servant. She's really hammering that home. She does not want to be this princess's servant. Since she was very thirsty, the princess dismounted, lay down next to the water, and wept. Why? Okay, it's not worth crying, though. Like, sure, it's not ideal. But I mean, you also can just drink out of your hands, right? Like cup your hands and get a little water that way and then take a sip. Like, she's being overdramatic now. I'm losing respect for her, very precipitously at this point. Ugh. And again, oh God, she said. So she's, losing respect by the moment. Once again, the drops of blood responded. Ah, if your mother knew, her heart would break in two. I really don't like that. As she was leaning over the bank and drinking the water, her handkerchief with the 3 drops of blood fell out of her bosom and floated downstream without her even noticing it. So great was her fear. Fear? What's she afraid of? She's now afraid because she has to drink water without a golden goblet? Also, just take it. It's not the chambermaid. It doesn't belong to the chambermaid, right? But I mean, it sounds like the chambermaid is way tougher than this princess at this point, so I'm not confident the princess would be able to pry that from her grasp if she was like, no, you're not using it. Go drink by yourself. Still, cup your hands. And again, or not again, I don't know that I've said this before, this is why people don't, keep valuable things in their cleavage. Generally. I'll be honest, I can't speak to that from experience. But presumably, it's not the most secure place to have something. I don't know about old-timey clothes, so maybe someone could enlighten me about this. That would be helpful in terms of pockets, medieval times and how people carried stuff. Maybe cleavage was the most reasonable and practical place to put a handkerchief with a bunch of blood on it. I do not know the answer to this. I can only presume it's not ideal. It's definitely not secure, I guess, depending on the cleavage. I'm not going to get into this anymore. We're just going to move along. We continue. All right, so she lost these talking drops of blood. Don't really know what they weren't helping her. They weren't doing anything. It said that they would help her when she was in their time of need. Instead, all they were doing was just shouting oh man, that sucks. That's really all they were doing. Not helpful in my book. We continue, but the chambermaid had seen it and was delighted because she knew that now she could have power over the princess. Without the 3 drops of blood, the princess had become weak. She didn't really seem like a paragon of strength before. She was literally crying into a brook. She was literally pitifully lamenting to the heavens and weeping into a stream. I don't know why the chambermaid thought she did not have power over her up until this point. Also, if she thought she didn't have power over her up until this point, why was she saying she didn't want to be her servant and being mean to her and refusing to let her do anything? There's nothing to indicate that the princess has any power whatsoever. Really, she's done nothing to indicate she has any power. I mean, she clearly doesn't know quite what the power of the blood is, nor do I, nor because the queen didn't say. It would have been really helpful to specify that, I guess. She just said when you're in your time of need, but I guess this didn't qualify. I don't know. This is getting real messy. So, as she was about to get back on the horse named Falada, yeah, what about this horse? This talking horse hasn't said anything yet. So, as she was about to get on the horse named Falada, the chambermaid said, Falada belongs to me. Yours is the nag. Is that so she called the horse that she was on a nag? Like a nagging horse? Like a horse that is harassing you all the time? That doesn't make sense to me. But okay, this chambermaid is really going on a power trip now. Again, I don't know what was preventing her from doing this before, but she's taking Falada, the talking horse, who I guess hasn't talked yet. The princess had to put up with all that. Moreover, why? Why does she she can fight back? Chambermaid isn't doing anything. princess is like a coward and not humble and not even like sticking up for herself. I really don't respect this princess. The princess had to put up with all that. Moreover, the chambermaid ordered her to take off her royal garments and put on the maid's shabby clothes. I see where this is going. Finally, she had to swear under open skies that she would never tell a soul at the royal court what the chambermaid had done. If the princess hadn't given her word, she would have been killed on the spot. But Falada saw all this and took good note of it. So this horse, that is hilarious. So Falada isn't talking, but she's listening. That is so funny. We've got this like spy horse situation. That's so weird. Man. All right. I'm going to be honest. That's a pretty clever move from this chambermaid. And really, I don't see why. Like, the princess technically hasn't done anything wrong, but I don't respect her. Whereas I kind of have to, like, give it up to this chambermaid a little bit for, like, making her moves and calling her shots. I mean, like, nah, I'm done being a servant. I'm going to be the princess when we get where we're going. And, you know, who deserves to be a princess, really, right? Is there a reason why the person who's the princess now in this story deserves to then marry the guy or to have been born into this life of luxury and being a princess? No. And it doesn't seem like she's really become that great of a person. You know, you can be a princess and still be a good person and like be a strong person and you have strong will and conviction and stick up for yourself and you fight your battles and things like this. As a princess isn't doing any of those things. Chambermaid sounds baller as hell. I'm kind of rooting for chambermaid right now. This is not like a nice thing to do. Absolutely not. But at the same time, you know, shoot your shot, chambermaid. Like, this is also why you send more than one person to go with her. This is why my thing earlier about like, send some guards would have been so simple and reasonable to prevent a situation like this. But yeah, chambermaid is really making her move here. We continue. Now, the chambermaid mounted Falada. I love Falada so much already. The name Falada is perfect. And the true bride had to get on the wretched nag. All right, it's probably a fine horse too, right? We don't gotta put down this other horse just because Falada can talk. Falada hasn't done anything already, like at this point. Okay, let's stop acting like Falada is so great and this other horse sucks. Because the other horse is probably trying its best and doing just fine. Thank you very much. We continue. Thus, they continued their journey until they finally arrived at the royal castle. There was great rejoicing when they entered the courtyard, and the prince ran to meet them. I don't know why that feels like, be cooler about it, prince, right? Like, if you want to like look stoic and cool, if your bride to be is coming, you don't want to like prance out and be like, oh hey, I don't know, do you, prince? If that's your vibe, good for you, you know. Be yourself, prince. You want to go run and frolic, then you go frolic. We continue. He lifted the chambermaid from her horse, thinking that she was his bride. Then he led her up the stairs, while the true princess was left standing below. Again, there's like nothing really preventing the princess. It's just like woman against woman here at this point. Like, if you bring it up that it's in question, then they'll at least like look into it, right? They'll go call someone in this kingdom who like used to live in the other kingdom and be like, hey, do you recognize this lady, this princess? I'm like, oh yeah, that's a princess. I remember her from that parade that one time. Or whatever princesses like make appearances at. The games, something's always happening. The jousts, they were sitting up there. That's definitely the princess. I don't know who this lady is, but yeah. So again, I don't really respect how the princess is handling all of this. She's hasn't stood up for herself once, and all she's done is kind of like pity herself and just never fought back. So, yeah, at this point, the lesson is like fight, like stick up for yourself, even just like a little bit, like once, maybe. What was going on with that blood in the handkerchief? Was that ever going to do anything? Because, I mean, man. All right, so the princess is just down there. Then, yeah, okay. Meanwhile, the old king peered out a window, and when he saw her standing in the courtyard, he was struck by her fine, delicate, and beautiful features. Oh, come on. I don't want this to be a story where it's like, but she was super hot, so things worked out because everyone was like, oh man, she's gorgeous. She must be the one who deserves the good things. That would infuriate me. Ugh. All right. This is the old king now. He's like, oh man, that other chambermaid girl is really, really hot. He went straight to the royal suite and asked the bride about the girl she had brought with her, the one standing below in the courtyard, and who she was. Oh, I picked her up along the way to keep me company. Just give her something to keep her busy. The idea that the kingdom would send their princess out with a ton of gold and silver, and just the fact that the idea that they would send her out alone at all to go to this other kingdom is insane, let alone with a ton of gold and everything. Like, come on. This is unbelievable. All right. But the old king had no work for her. What do you mean? It's a kingdom. You got something to do. It's a castle. It's like they're sweeping. There's lots of dust and sweeping to do. Anytime there's like, and you see a movie, it's like, what's this servant doing? I don't know, sweep that stone floor. I don't know if it actually makes it any cleaner or any better. But like, if you need something to do in olden times, get to sweeping. That's as good a job as anyone can get. Okay. So Old King had no work for her, and could only respond, I have a little boy who tends to the geese. Perhaps she could help him. All right, that sounds fine. Be a goose girl. The little boy's name was Little Conrad. All right. So I find the way that they choose who gets a name hilarious in these old folk tales. Thus far, the only characters that have been named are Falada, the talking horse who has not talked yet, and Little Conrad, the goose boy. Like, what are they doing here? What are the rules for who should get a name? The protagonist doesn't have a name. The villain doesn't have a name. The romantic interest doesn't have a name. The queen doesn't have a name. The king doesn't have a name. The horse and this little boy who watches after geese, they get names. And those names are Falada and Little Conrad. Man, all right. All right, the boy's name was Little Conrad, and the true bride had to help him tend the geese. Oh, and she's like so whiny all the time and like probably really bad at it. Shortly thereafter, the false bride said to the young king, okay, so not the, yeah, dearest husband, I'd like you to do me a favor. I'd be glad to, he answered. All right, so I guess things are going well between them. Well then, let me summon the knack. Okay, I've not seen this word. It's spelled Knacker. Don't know what that is, but I don't want to say it. Seems weird. I want him to cut off the head of the horse that carried me here because it gave me nothing but trouble along the way. She wants to cut Falada's head off. That's crazy. That's insane. Yo, okay. All right. I mean, she's like no witnesses is sort of her strategy, I guess. But Falada hasn't said anything yet. So, like, is Falada a threat? I don't understand why Falada hasn't talked once. Like, the second they arrived, that's the time to say, like, hey, the person that's on me right now is not the princess. It's the actual princess is the girl back there. This is just a chambermaid who's really, like, really ambitious and kind of mean. And I mean, straight from the horse's mouth, right? Gotta believe it. That was a terrible joke, but I had to make it. It was just hanging there for me. It was dangling right in front of me. Had to make that reference. But yeah, right? That's the time to say something. Why is Falada being so silent? If she can indeed talk, which at this point, I do not believe she can. We continue. However, she was actually afraid the horse would reveal what she had done to the princess. Yeah, obviously. Even though I don't know why she's waited this long. When all the preparations had been made and faithful Falada was about to die, word reached the ears of the true princess, and she secretly promised the... Okay, it's knacker is the... I don't know what that is. A gold coin if he would render her a small service. Why does she have a gold coin? Doesn't she just take care of geese now? She's not the princess. Also, it's that person's job to do what they're told. You can't just, like, get bribed by some random girl. That's stupid. There was a big dark gateway through which she had to pass every morning and evening with the geese, and she wanted him to nail Falada's head on the wall under the... Whoa. Wanted him to nail Falada's head on the wall under the gateway, where she could always see it. The knacker promised to do it, and when he cut off the horse's head, he nailed it firmly onto the wall under the gateway? So she let him cut Falada's head off. Falada! I know I gave Falada a hard time, but I'm actually kind of upset that they killed this this poor horse. Also, like, do a small service. She didn't even try to save her. Talk, talk. Why hasn't Falada said anything yet? Falada, stick up for yourself, girl. So this Falada's dead. I mean, I'm sure some magic's gonna happen and it's gonna... But then it's like, doesn't even matter if it was a talking horse to begin with, because all right, I just have to go on. This was a wild turn of events. Now there's the dead horse Falada's head nailed to the wall under the dark gateway, so, like, where she could always see it. I mean, that's not gonna stay there. Even if he did, like, do what was asked of him and nail it there, enough people are gonna pass by that dead horse's head. They're gonna be like, hey, can we not have that there? It's really upsetting to walk by just this random dead horse's head. So that needs to come down. Why is it there to begin with? That doesn't make any sense. Why did you do that? Let's get it. We got to get it down. This is horribly violent and upsetting, and the children are crying. Okay, it's all right. So the horse head is up. That's crazy. Early the next morning, when she and Conrad... Oh, yeah, we got Conrad back in the picture, the one guy who's got a name, and he's a little boy. When she and Conrad drove the geese out through the gateway, she said in passing, "Oh, poor Falada, I see you hanging there." Then the head answered, Ugh. Now you talk, Falada? You could have done so much. You could have saved your own life, and also rectified the entire identity mix-up between the princess and the chambermaid if you had simply spoken in life. Now you are dead, and oh my god. Then the head answered, "Dear princess, is that you really there? Oh, if your mother knew, her heart would break in two." She walked out of the city in silence, and they drove the geese into the fields. How is that helpful? And why is that all anyone can say? Any of the magic things. These aren't helping in any way. It's just be like, oh, your mom would be sad. Like, okay, what? It's not. Again, you could have done way more by actually speaking in life. And again, the fact that you're speaking in death, I feel like doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you could speak in life, because you're dead. So there's already crazy magic happening if you're speaking at all, or if there's anything happening with you, let alone talk. I don't know. This is crazy and has gone so far off the rails, and I don't understand any of it. We continue. When she reached the meadow, she sat down and undid her hair, which was as pure as gold. Ugh, all right. I hate when they do that. They're like, and the princess was the most beautiful. It's like, why? That doesn't make sense, really. I feel like the only reason to believe that the royalty at any time was the most attractive is because that they just could bathe more regularly. So that's the only reason why they would be. Because otherwise, just based on statistics, there's no way they're going to be the most attractive. And also based on how much royal families were inbreeding, they're definitely not going to be the most attractive. So yeah, I hate how the folktales and fairy tales, they always do that. But anyway, little Conrad liked the way her hair glistened so much that he tried to pull out a few strands. Hey, buddy, can't be cool, Conrad. What are you doing, man? Little creep. Ugh. We continue. Then she said, blow, wind, oh, blow with all your might. Blow little Conrad's cap out of sight. Make him chase it everywhere till I've braided all my hair and fixed it so that it's all right. Then a gust of wind came and blew off little Conrad's cap into the fields, and he had to run after it. What? So she's magic now? She can summon wind through fun poems? What is happening? If she had any magic power, why did she not use it before then? None of this makes sense, guys. All right, I'm just going to keep going, because this is where we're going into crazy town now. By the time he returned with it, she had finished combing and putting her hair up, and he couldn't get a single strand of it. Little Conrad became so angry that he wouldn't speak to her after that. You can't be mad, little Conrad. You're trying to pull out a woman's hair. Come on, buddy. That's on you. Ugh. I mean, she could have just he's a child, right? She could have just pushed him away and smacked him. I don't know. What's your problem, little Conrad? You have no right to be upset. Ugh. Thus, they tended the geese until evening, when they set out on their way home. The next morning, when they drove the geese through the dark gateway, the maiden said, "Oh, poor Falada, I see you hanging there." Then Falada responded, "Dear princess, is that you really there?" That's so weird. It's definitely not the right way that sentence should be. "Oh, if your mother knew, her heart would break in two." Once she was in the field again. That's not helpful. I don't understand why that is a thing at all. So stupid. Once she was in the field again, she sat down in the meadow and began to comb out her hair. Little Conrad ran up and tried to grab it, but she quickly said, "Blow, window, blow with all your might. Blow little Conrad's cap out of sight and make him chase it everywhere till I braided all my hair and fixed it so that it's all right." That's a long thing to have to say really fast while this child is grabbing at her hair. It is not convenient at all. Little Conrad sucks. I hate little Conrad, and there is no reason why he deserves to be named in this story. The wind blew and whisked the cap off his head and drove it far off, so that Conrad had to run after it. When he came back, she had long since put up her hair, and he couldn't get a single strand. Thus, they tended to the geese until evening. However, upon returning that evening, little Conrad went to the old king and said, "I don't want to tend the geese with that girl anymore." "Why not?" asked the old king. "Well, she torments me the whole day long." Immediately, oh, Conrad, come on, man. Just because you want to steal her hair? Conrad is so creepy. Yo, Conrad, what is your deal? What is wrong with you, man? He's like, "Hey, she won't let me steal her hair." It's like, hey, maybe be nice to her and she'll pluck out a strand for you, right? It's like, don't be freaking weird, bro. Jesus, Conrad, chill. Ugh, we continue. Immediately, the old king ordered him to tell him what she did. And Conrad said, in the morning, when we pass through the dark gateway, there's a horse's head on the wall, and she always says, oh, poor Falada, I see you hanging there. And the head answers, dear princess, is that really you there? Oh, if your mother knew, her heart would break in two. And thus little Conrad, I love that he starts there. That's not the issue, I guess, really, but I love that he starts there, and that's now going to be something. And thus little Conrad went on to tell the king what happened out on the meadow and how he had to run after his little cap. So he started way before the cap situation, though. He just like walked the king through his whole day. And why does this little goose boy have the ear of the king and can just like complain at length? The king is not the goose boy's immediate supervisor. There's no way that that's how the hierarchy of kingdoms works. Like, there's gotta be 20 rungs on the ladder between king and the small child that tends to the geese, right? Unless this is like a real low class operation of a kingdom we got going on here. But based on how much like gold and silver and jewels we were led to believe was brought to them, there's no way that can be the case. So yeah, I guess the king just really likes this goose child. The old king ordered him to drive the geese out again the next day. And when the morning came, the old king hid himself behind the dark gateway and heard her speak to Falada's head. Then he followed her into the fields and hid behind some bushes in the meadow. All right, so this king is a creep too. This is was like following him around. I mean, actually, you know what? That's pretty fair. If I heard what little Conrad said they did every day, I'd be like, what? I need to see this for myself. What's going on with this horse head situation? And it talks? Ugh. All right. Soon he saw with his own eyes how the goose girl and the goose boy led the geese to the meadow, and how she sat down after a while and undid her hair that glistened radiantly. Before long she said, blow, wind, oh blow, blow with all your might, blow little Conrad's cap out. So he did it again. He again tried to get some of her hair. Conrad, buddy, you gotta just chill, man. You're not gonna get some of the hair, and you gotta accept that. It's not okay to treat people this way, Conrad. It's not okay to harass someone and try to steal their hair every day. Even once is entirely not acceptable for human behavior. Not cool, Conrad. Not cool. All right, well, she said the thing again and fixed it so that it's all right. Then a gust of wind came and carried little Conrad's cap away so that he had to run far, and the maiden calmly combed and braided her hair. All this was observed by the king. He then went home unnoticed, and when the goose girl came back that evening, he called her aside and asked her why she did all those things. Yeah, good question, king. Be like, hey, so you did a bunch of stuff today, which apparently is what you do every day now. That's just like your routine that you do all the time with his horse head and then Conrad and the cap. The fact that this is every day is crazy. All right, so he asked her why she did all those things. I'm not allowed to tell you, nor am I allowed to bemoan my plight to anyone. Such is the oath I swore under the open skies. Otherwise, I would have been killed. Just tell him, man. I know you're talking about this like, oh, oaths, and I had to swear the oath. You were threatened with death. Anytime you're made to swear an oath when the alternative is death, I don't think you're beholden to that oath because you had no other option. So that's not really an oath that is made in good faith. So you know what, princess? Take some initiative that doesn't involve, hey, can I have the horse's head, the head of the horse, the dead horse nailed to it. That made no sense. Why was that your plan? That's not a plan. That's not anything. What is the plan here? Her actions and, I'm so frustrated with this princess. Nothing that she's doing makes any sense whatsoever. I hate this princess. I know she is a victim kind of in all this, but oh my God, do something that makes sense and stick up for yourself for once. Jeez. Ugh. Don't rely on this. Oh my God. All right. I have to continue because I'm just. Although he kept on insisting and would give her no peace, she wouldn't talk. Talk. Just talk, princess. My God. Then he said, if you don't want to tell me anything, then you certainly may let the iron stove over there listen to your sorrows. All right, said the maiden. I'll do that. Upon saying that, she crawled into the iron stove and poured her heart out and told it what had happened to her and how she had been betrayed by the wicked chambermaid. Now the oven had a hole on top, and the old king overheard what she said and listened to every word she uttered about her fate. So she's stupid. She is a stupid lady, this princess. So obviously, like, she knows that he is overhearing, right? So if she is like honor bound so much, then she wouldn't be telling anyone, let alone a stove or anything. Because obviously, if you're like in a stove, like I don't think stoves are like soundproof. She knows he's right there. She knows he's listening. So if the whole thing that this folktale is trying to tell us is that, like, oh, she has such a good heart that she needed to, keep her oath, which I don't agree with, first of all. But if that's what the fairy tale is trying to tell us, then no, she's not doing that, because unless she's actually an idiot, obviously knows that she would be overheard right now. But maybe it's just like her conscience she can wipe clean because she's like, oh, I told the stove. He just happened to be there, which is so stupid and a horrible thing in a story. Like, that's not good storytelling. First of all, if that is what it is, this story is wild. Whew. All right, we continue. He immediately, being the king, intended to make everything good and had her dressed in royal garments, and it was like a miracle to see how beautiful she really was. All right. All right, I'm just going to continue. The old king called his son and revealed to him that he had the wrong bride, who was nothing but a chambermaid. The true bride, however, was standing there before him, the former Goose girl. The young king was delighted and ecstatic when he saw how beautiful and virtuous she was. Oh, again, that's just like, oh, she was so hot, so it was all great. Also, the king should be a little skeptical, right? Like, there's no reason. Like, she could have been a chambermaid and just made it all up, right? She could have. There's no evidence either way at this point. And if you're pointing to the horse head thing as evidence, I don't know about that. The whole Falada situation is very upsetting to me, and I don't understand how it unfolded and why it unfolded that way and why anyone did anything related to Falada. I don't understand anyone's course of action relating to Falada, if including Falada's own decisions. Like, these are, ugh. But yeah, there's no reason why the king would or should believe this girl. But he did, I guess. Ugh. And everyone's really happy because I guess she was hotter than the chambermaid. Now a great feast was prepared, and all their friends and the entire court were invited to attend. At the head of the table sat the bridegroom, with the princess at one side and the chambermaid at the other. But the chambermaid was so distracted that she could no longer recognize the princess, who was dressed in a dazzling manner. That's wild. She knew the princess, though. Like, she knew the princess when the princess was a princess in the previous kingdom. So she knows what she looks like, and she knows what she looks like when she's dressed up and looking all great. So that doesn't make sense. After they finished eating and drinking, and were all in high spirits, the old king gave the chambermaid a riddle to solve. Oh, they're doing it, like, with suspense, and they're building it up. What punishment did a woman deserve who deceived her lord in such and such a way? Whereupon he told her the whole story and concluded by asking, how would you sentence her? She deserves nothing better, said the false bride, than to be stripped completely naked and put inside a barrel studded with sharp nails. Jesus. Then 2 white horses should be harnessed to the barrel and made to drag her through the streets until she's dead. All right. If the king literally was like, hey, what would you do to someone who did this? And then he laid out the exact situation that was your life and that you did. Come on. Obviously, he knows that you did that. Obviously, this is a setup. This is such a specific situation. This is so specific. This isn't just like a hypothetical, like, hey, do you think corporal punishment should be a thing? Like, this is such a specific situation. They said whereupon he told her the whole story and concluded by asking. So that means he literally was like, if a princess and her chambermaid were sent from one kingdom to the kingdom of their betrothed, and the chambermaid stripped the princess of her garments and put them on herself and forced her to be the chambermaid, and then when they arrived, the false princess married the king, and the real princess was forced to tend to the geese. Like, that's what happened. That's so specific. You can't be like, interesting hypothetical, king. No, come on, chambermaid. You are also an idiot. But not an unimaginative one, because she came up with this really brutal situation for torture and death. All right, so I'm just going to say the last bit of this just to really hammer home how brutal the idea that this chambermaid came up with. 2 white horses should be harnessed to the barrel. This is so specific and elaborate. It's like kind of impressive. Make her like the executioner, or something, because this is creative and brutal. And made to drag her through the streets until she's dead. You're the woman, said the old king, and you've pronounced your own sentence. All this shall happen to you. After the sentence had been carried out, the young king married his true bride, and they both reigned over their kingdom in peace and bliss. The end. Yikes. I mean, again, there's no evidence pointing to the fact, even though we know it's true what did happen, but as far as the old king knows, that's not true. There's no evidence pointing to that fact. And honestly, the fact that he outlined the whole situation and this woman is totally unfazed and was and didn't recognize it. Like, if he started outlining the situation and recounting the story and he saw on the chambermaid's face that she realized that oh my God, he knows. If he saw her come to that realization, he'd be like, oh, I caught you out. This is confirmation that this is actually what happened. But that's not what happened. He outlined the situation and she was like, oh, what a horrible thing to do. If someone did that, then this. That's kind of would serve in her favor, to be honest, just if we're talking about evidence. But I mean, if they want evidence, talk to the queen. Clearly it's possible to get between the kingdoms. There's just 2 ladies and a horse, each with a horse. It clearly is not that difficult to get across. It's just 2 people and 2 horses and a bunch of gold can do it. And not even need to take water with them. There's readily available drinking water, and they clearly weren't hunting and stuff. So come on, just consult someone from the other kingdom or the queen before you do anything like this. This story's crazy, guys. This story is wild. And I gotta be honest, I really have a hard time getting past the Falada of it all. That was they set up Falada so crucially. Falada being Falada was a talking horse, guys. Falada was set up as a talking horse. And then Falada did not say anything when Falada was alive. Falada did not talk. Falada was a talking horse that didn't talk and then was killed and then had their head nailed up to a place and then in death answered the princess. How did that happen? Why was she had like a magic decapitated head that could talk but not do anything helpful? Just be like, oh man, your mom would be super sad. Why? Like, she could say so many more helpful things than that. Like, there's so many opportunities for Falada to fix this situation. There are opportunities for the princess to fix this situation. She could, if she knows that Falada can talk, just be like, and I do not buy the whole, like, don't tell, you swore an oath not to tell anyone, so you can't tell anyone. Come on, man. That's ridiculous. That would be, I do not respect the princess if she sticks to that oath. Like, you could say, like, all right, you're as good as your word, but this person tried to steal her identity and under threat of death tried to, made her do that oath. Obviously, you don't gotta do that oath. That's ridiculous. I don't respect the princess. The Falada situation is just so crazy and upsetting and makes no sense. The king had no reason to believe either story any which way. He needed to consult a third party or go to the queen from the original kingdom. And honestly, the queen from the original kingdom should have just sent more people along than this one like shifty-eyed chambermaid. Like this one like suspicious looking chambermaid. Like, come on, guys. No one's decision making was sound here. No one's. The only one who at least like kind of made sense in terms of like they had a goal and they stuck to it and their actions served that goal in a sensical, understandable way was the chambermaid. That's the only person who like she knew what she wanted and she went after it. She was mean, but like again, there's no reason why the princess deserves to be a princess and she should have to be a chambermaid. Like essentially they just switched spots. Like she was now a princess and the former princess was like taking care of geese and getting harassed by a creepy kid. That does suck. I do feel bad for the princess for that. But otherwise they just switch. It's like, okay, you're a princess. You got to be a princess for, the first like 20 years of your life. And now I get to be a princess for the last 20 years because it's olden times. So we're all going to be dead by the time we're 40, right? Like this is crazy. I mean, this is why I love these stories, guys. I love these folktales. This is wild. It makes no sense, but I love it so much. Like I want to make like a like a Falada t-shirt. I don't know what the design's going to be, but I got a soft spot in my heart for Falada, even though Falada didn't do anything helpful at any point. What about the blood? What about the 3 drops of blood in the handkerchief? Those also were not helpful at any time. Oh my God, you guys. The blood that fell out of her cleavage that just again was not helpful, but just like lamented and was like, oh, your mom would be so sad. All of the things that the princess had to help her didn't do anything except for just be like, man, your mom would be really sad right now. This story's wild and I love it so much. All right, I'm gonna adapt this. Let's see what we get, guys. This is crazy. All right, here we go with the adaptation of The Goose Girl. I actually had fun with this, and this one ended up being pretty long. So let's get into this. So this is going to be a TV series. It's also going to take place in medieval times, just in a fictitious world. It's like vaguely medieval, So now we start the series with 2 young girls. One is a princess, and the other is the daughter of the queen's like #1 lady in waiting. Ladies in waiting. That's a thing. It's just a ridiculous name for someone. I mean, it's a servant. They do various things. Servant things, but it just sounds like they're just waiting around all the time, which I guess is like the most generic thing you can call a servant, but it's kind of insulting, really. They work hard. Probably. It sounds like they're just loafing about. They're just sitting, waiting for something to happen. Nah, they work hard. Hashtag ladies in waiting work hard. Not waiting. Hashtag not waiting. We continue. So let's say that the king in this he's also dead. So we've got no king. So we've just got the kingdom being ruled by the queen. However, in a tragic accident, the lady in waiting, she dies. Oh no, it's so sad. But not only that, but she dies when she is exiting the castle one day as a body double for the queen, who she often has multiple body doubles go out different exits as decoys. But it was also a known thing that she did this, which usually would discourage people from attempting anything, if they know they might have the wrong person. But on this occasion, someone attacked the queen, or one of the queen decoys, and in fact killed her lady in waiting, and her best friend, and the mother to the princess's best friend. And the queen will be played by Cate Blanchett. Let's just say that. I like Cate Blanchett. So Queen Cate Blanchett, she vows to honor her friend and forever take care of her daughter. And she does a good job of this in keeping her close to the family, but since she's not an actual member of the royal family, the highest position for her is to be the first lady in waiting for the princess. So the two girls, they grow up together as basically sisters, except one is a princess and one isn't. And of course, in the mind of the girl who isn't the princess, she feels, robbed of her mother, because her mother is only dead because of the queen, and furthermore, it was the queen who was intended to be killed in the first place. So in one sense, she's grateful, but in another sense, she's resentful, and she's also very aware of this differentiation of status, since, she's kind of being raised alongside someone who just has a higher status, and there's no real reason for it, and she doesn't understand it, and feels, lesser than because of that. Now, the two young girls, they're brought up and they're also taught to become super awesome fighters, because seeing her best friend be killed and knowing that the death that had been meant for her, the queen, she vowed that her two girls would be able to handle themselves in any situation. And so she teaches these two young girls to be super badass. So the girls that grow up and they become, because we have to cast them now, they're not just children anymore. So they become Amber Midthunder from Prey. Remember the movie Prey? That was a cool movie, and she was super cool in it, and she is going to be the princess. And the other one is Jessica Henwick. Look her up. She's cool. She's in stuff. She also does action things. And so Amber Midthunder, she's the princess. Jessica Henwick, lady in waiting. And just like the original story, Queen Cate Blanchett marries off her daughter to someone from a neighboring kingdom. And Queen Cate Blanchett, she organizes a whole group to go, along with the princess, to the new kingdom. But Princess Amber Midthunder rejects this. She's like, nah, just us. Just me and Jessica. And so the queen, she's like, all right, fine. Because her rationale, Amber Midthunder, she's like, look, you're about to marry me off. This is my sister, my best friend, my closest person in my life. Let us have this one last adventure across the tundra, the hillside, through the mountains. We'll have a lovely gallivant around as sisters. It'll be great. So the two women, they set out, and all is going well. But as they get near the other kingdom, Princess Amber, she halts up. And Jessica Henwick, she's confused. And Amber just looks back at her and she says, give me your clothes. And now Jessica's even more confused. She's like, what are you talking about? And Amber says, we both know there's no reason why I'm a princess and you're not. We're sisters. We grew up side by side. So when you get to the kingdom, we will present you as the princess and me as the lady in waiting. And from then on, you'll be royal just like you always should have been. And Jessica's like, there's no way this is going to work. Come on, they'll find out. And what, you're going to be a servant the rest of your life? I don't believe that. And Amber, she laughs and she says, so at some point when we decide, you just send me back to our home kingdom, right? And I'll just go right back to being a princess there. I don't care about being a princess in this new kingdom. And Jessica's like, your mother is going to be so mad and punish me and blow the whole thing up. And then Amber laughs just again. Amber, she just really does. She marches to the beat of her own drum. She's confident. And she laughs even harder. She's like, she'll have to play along because just to save face. You can't own up then after you've been married to this person for super long. She considers you a daughter. So really, she still did give them her daughter as a bride, just not the one she thought she did. And Jessica's like, there's no way this is going to work out. Come on. But Amber's like, it will. If they ever find out what happened, just say I forced you to, which is exactly what I'm doing. But you're the smartest, kindest person I know. It could have been my mother who died all those years ago, but it was yours, and she gave her life so my mother could live. Let me give you this now. Sister Jessica, let me do this for you. You'll be a great princess, and then you'll be a great queen, and you should be a queen, so I'd be honored to make you one. I'm doing you and the people of that kingdom a favor. In this stirring speech, Jessica's just like, you are absolutely crazy, sister. But okay. So, that is what they do. I really like this a lot better than the original, I'm going to be honest, because here, the switch of identities is being done for like love and affection and out of, generosity of spirit. It actually gives so much more to work with, like plot wise and character wise. There's so many more opportunities for conflict and tension. And I actually like and understand people's motivations for doing the things that they're doing, which I absolutely did not in the original story. And I'm like rooting for the way this is, I can still root for everyone. Like there's no one's really doing anything malevolent or hurting anyone in any way. Even the kingdom that they're going to, even though they're technically like not being honest with them, they're not hurting them. This is still a great person, a great queen that they're giving them. So I like this a lot better. And I didn't, as opposed to the original story where I didn't like either of the characters, how they handled it. It made me want to root for none of them. So this one I like better. Okay, so they arrive at the kingdom and they think Jessica is the princess, of course. And she marries the prince, who's played by Adam Driver, because he's great and I love him and everything. And the king is played by Willem Dafoe, because he's also great, and I also love him and everything. And unlike the original story, Amber Midthunder, she just continues to work as the lady-in-waiting to Jessica Henwick. I don't understand why in the original story the chambermaid would lose her job as chambermaid. Did they not, need chambermaids still? They just didn't have just a way smaller staff. Why did she have to lose her job? That was her role in the original story. She was the servant to the princess. Why would she not be able to do that? So stupid. So, Amber, she doesn't mind being lady in waiting because they're just hanging out all the time. They're buddies. They love each other. And now, occasionally, Amber's personality and sharp banter come out, because she is very confident. She's been a princess her whole life. She's not used to being a servant. So, not used to biting her tongue or being polite, but people like her. She's still really likable and really nice and, a good person. So the new princess, Jessica Henwick, she loves her. So they just laugh it off. They're like, this type of behavior must be more acceptable in the kingdom they come from. And she just gets away with it that way. And all right, here we go. Now, one of the cousins of the prince takes a shine to Amber, and he starts making advances on her, which Amber does not reciprocate because she thinks he's a creep. And his name is, you guessed it, Conrad. And he's the cousin of the prince and part of the royal family, so he thinks that this servant should be oh so eager to be with him. But she doesn't care at all because, of course, she's a princess, so she's not impressed at all by his status, and she just shuts him down. But he persists and even keeps trying to take strands of her hair and stuff like the original story. Because, yeah, that would be super annoying. I still think that's a really creepy detail, and I'm keeping it as a way of, I'm shifting the dynamic, obviously. This is but I like this better, and I do like the just making him a creep and, not cool. And one day, he corners Amber in the hallway and becomes so frustrated with rejection that he attacks her. And, of course, Amber, she's not standing for that. and she's a fully trained, super skilled fighter, so she defends herself very capably. But in the process, Conrad hits his head on a sconce or something in the hallway and dies. Boom, boom. And Amber is taken prisoner, and King Willem Dafoe, he likes both Amber and Jessica, but he's like, she killed a member of the royal family. He's a cousin, but he's still a royal, and if a non-royal kills a royal, then the punishment is automatically death. My hands are tied. I am so sorry. And of course, we know that Amber is royalty too, but they can't tell him, and even if they did, that would probably just make things worse, so they have to just keep everything quiet. And in the meantime, Jessica and Prince Adam Driver, they've hit it off spectacularly. They're super in love. It's all going great. And after all this has happened, with the cousin dying and Amber killing him, in a very dramatic scene, Jessica, she tells Adam the truth. And we see Adam Driver's face, and he's shocked. He looks very serious and upset. And then we cut straight to Adam Driver marching down the halls into the prison cell where Amber is being kept. And she's surprised, of course, to see him at such a late hour. It's just the two of them there, and he talks to her for a while. He takes a stool and he sits down and just talks to her at first. And he asks her about her home, and he's interrogating her, really. He asks her about her home and what she likes, about herself as a person, and she answers him honestly, while still hiding her true identity because she's confused. She doesn't know that he knows everything already. And then Adam Driver says, "Your home sounds like a good place. You should go back there." And then he opens the cell door, and Amber is shocked, and she doesn't know what to do. And Adam Driver, he says, "Jessica told me everything. I know who you really are." And he steps back, and he opens the door to, like, the prison. And then Jessica steps through, and she says, "I told him everything, and he agreed that the only way for you to live was to smuggle you out tonight." And Amber's like, "Well, what was that conversation? What just happened here?" And Adam Driver, he's like, "I just wanted to have one conversation with a woman who might have been my wife, just to see who you really were." And Amber looks at him quizzically, and Adam says, "And you seem like a really great person, but now I know for certain that I'm marrying the right woman for me, the woman I love, Jessica." Jessica's just like, "It's very sweet. We gotta go. You need to escape tonight, Amber, and just go back home. Everything will be fine. We'll smooth it over." And Amber's like, "The king, will be fine knowing that she's not the real princess. Like, is that okay?" And Adam says, "No, my father, Willem Dafoe, he is much too beholden to tradition. He'd force me to marry you and might even kill Jessica. We have to keep up the act that she's the true princess. Once you're home, you'll be safe." And Amber accepts this, but then she says, "You know what? I'm not going home." And now the other two are very confused. And Amber continues. She says, "If I go home, I'll be a princess again, sure. But I'll be everything that comes with that. I'll be beholden to my mother's wishes, to the demands of my title. They don't need me there. You don't need me here, not anymore. I've come to realize I never wanted to be a princess. I just wanted to be free. So that's what I'm going to be, free." And they ask her where she's going to go, and she says, "I don't know." And then she smiles, and isn't that wonderful? And so they smuggle her out of the castle, and she heads off on the road out of the kingdom with some supplies and some food and some weapons and things. And the next day, there's a huge uproar that the prisoner has escaped. And Adam Driver, he talks to King Willem Dafoe. But King Willem Dafoe, he says, I'm relieved. It brought me no joy to kill that girl. But then a traveler arrives, a nobleman who's received into the castle. And this is a nobleman who's traveled all over. He's traveled a lot. And when he arrives at the castle, he greets the king and says he's excited to see the happy couple, for he knows the princess from her home kingdom. And King Willem Dafoe, he's like, well, she just lost her only friend from home so recently, so she'll be happy to see a familiar face. And the nobleman, he meets Adam Driver and then looks beside him, sees his new bride, Jessica Henwick, and we see a flicker of recognition on his face. He knows this is not the true princess. He knows that it, in fact, is the princess's lady-in-waiting. But he plays it smooth. He plays along. He says, "It's so wonderful to see you here, princess. You look so at home in this castle." And he says it very pointedly, like, I know what you're doing. And that is where we end season 1. Princess Amber Midthunder, she's off to travel the world from town to town to get into adventures. Princess Jessica Henwick, she has to keep up the facade, made more complicated by this wild card nobleman who could reveal her identity, and we also don't know much about him yet. And we know that the king sticks to tradition, so he would never accept her if he did know. So there's constant threat there. And then we've got Queen Cate Blanchett back in her kingdom, who of course will at some point want to check in on her daughter in her new kingdom, or might hear something from someone coming back from there. There's just so much here. I legitimately want this show so badly. Like, I want to watch this show. I want to watch this show more than I want to make this show. I would love this if this actually existed. All right, there we go. That's it. That is my adaptation of The Goose Girl. And that also will do it for this week's episode of the ShadowBear Story Sessions. Like and subscribe if you enjoy this. Tell a person about it. Spread the word, a good ShadowBear word, and yeah, come on back next time, and I'll see you there. Bye. That was a weird way to end. I don't know how to end these. I never know how to end these. I should have just stopped when I said I'll see you there. That was kind of cool, right? I don't know. I'm just gonna put the microphone down now.